My name is Navarre Austin. This is my benchmark Lab 5, challenging your hacking skills for GCU Cyber 610, presented again by me here, Navarre Austin. To get started, we are looking at our plan on how we are going to be looking at this penetration test and our plans moving forward. So to begin, we always look at enumerating our machine. So we look at our IP addresses, and everything that's being ran on different ports, just seeing kind of where vulnerabilities might be lying, and then we base those. Like we make a little ranking based off of the vulnerabilities and see where we can go from there. And then we also have our analyzing the vulnerabilities, and that's just seeing if we can gain root access through each of the vulnerabilities and seeing what needs to be improved upon, what needs to be changed, and all that moving forward. So to start here, we have why do we do our penetration tests? This very simply is just to collect data. We want to make sure that if an attack is going to happen, that we have some sort of fighting against it, and this allows us to essentially do a pretend attack, for the lesser sense, where we are doing the attack, but we're doing it in a manner where, data isn't going to be leaked or, sold or anything like that. It just essentially makes it a way that people can, start improving upon their defenses early. Which brings us to our next piece is that it also provides us experience for those emergency situations. Someone that's never been involved in any of these attacks or hasn't been around while an attack has taken place might not have the skill set or knowledge set on how to move forward or what to do. So this essentially provides that experience for the company and the people that are working there on what to do in those emergency situations. And lastly, it also just makes sure that we're meeting the security compliance that's needed for the company. Depending upon the different industries that they might be in, they might have different compliances they have to meet. And this penetration test just makes sure that we are meeting those standards. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, sorry about that again. So here we go. We have our failure procedures. So first step, always make sure that the people that are involved know that we've, gone outside of our policy and our procedures right there. So letting our client know who we're running the penetration test on, um, that we have, essentially broken, you know, the the contract that we had based all of our business off of. So we go through and we do a complete overview. We make sure that we didn't go too far out of line, how we can correct this. We want to make sure the client is happy. We make those amends, whether it's offering a discount or doing a little bit more. But there has to be some kind of way to make those amends. And most of the time, you're probably gonna have to go over those contracts again that you would filed out before we had even done the penetration test. Um, and that brings us to the last part is the potential increase in parameters on that test. So here we go. We have our Nmap scans. We saw here that we had our port 21 open, port 22, 23. A lot of that's open. Some of it's listed as unknown. Um, And then we have just our standard Nmap scan there on the right hand side, um, just showing everything that is open. Left hand side was showing all the um, open communication systems that are there. Brings us to our Nikto scan, where we were seeing that there is Apache listed on there, which would bring us back to our first Keyoptrix machine, seeing if maybe there's Samba or something along that lines going on in there. Um, PHP MyAdmin, so we're seeing our MySQL, so there might be access there for a SQL injection. Um, Which brings us to our next piece here, where we also see that there's an absence of CSRF tokens. So there is that possibility of um, that cross-site forgery kind of going on there, um, as well as anti-click jacking. So it is potentially open to a man-in-the-middle attack as well. And we can kind of see all the alerts that are there. So we have a vulnerable JS library, um, IP disclosures, all that here. And then we have our Nessus scan. And then our Nessus scan kind of gave us a lot that we were already seeing. We saw that paranoia levels 1. And yeah, we have our max hosts um, and all that. There we go. So I kind of mapped out some of our vulnerabilities that we would be looking at. This brings us to our port 21, 23, 21, 22, or 23, as well as our port 8180. Um, these three, I would say, are most important of the 21, 22, and 23, at least in this presentation. Because as we move forward, we're going to be looking at ways to create some kind of defense here. And so my mitigation proposal here would be doing an IP blacklist, which essentially provides a defense against IPs that are not recognized, and so we can place that in areas of IP addresses from other countries, anything like that, just to make sure that there is less of a chance of those attacks happening. We limit our port 21 access, which is our FTP. Next, we have our Telnet, which was on our port, I believe it was 23, and then SSH, which was on 22. Once we change that SSH port, that could do a couple of different things for us there. Kind of speeding it along as I'm running out of time. Here's just some of our post processes where I closed off some of the ports, close different like Telnet and all that stuff, and disabling different things so we can see some of our stuff here. And then we brings us to our post changes. Um, with port 21 closed, it's closed a backdoor exploit that we were seeing, where essentially you can get in. And gain root access that way. Telnet was another very easy way that I was seeing where people are able to just use Telnet to gain access. No username or password was needed. You were just telnetting in. And then we have our, I was mentioning earlier, our SSH port, changing that from 22. We can change that to, I want to say it was going to be 8801, 88801, somewhere around there. And doing that would essentially make us less susceptible to a DDoS attack. Um, and it would also stop brute force attacks where a robot, like a cyber robot, would be able to come in and just try any password combination, anything like that, and just try everything to brute force their way into the system. And that is my presentation. Thank you.